Hello, everyone. I am Mambo Soleil, and I am here with my sister.
Mambo LaBelle Venus. Hi, everybody. I feel like it's been a minute. It feels so good
It
to be
has been, we haven't been live together in forever. It's probably been at least a year,
It
at
has
least.
been. It has
Yeah.
been.
So, everyone, we are here tonight for a happy hour segment. For those of you who are new to my channel, and also because it's been forever since I've done one, happy hour is a segment that I do occasionally where we literally just come here and we treat it like happy hour after work, right? We have a drink, we shoot the shit, we gossip, and we just kind of hang out. So, that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And this is the first time I've had someone here with me, so Venus, this is mostly stuff that she and I would talk about anyway.
Yeah.
So this is just our opportunity to have the conversation together as a group. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Um, Readings aren't planned, but if we feel moved by a question asked, we may. So yeah. Um, I see that Soulful Healing Garden is here. Hello, hello. Um, Good to see you, Oshun Kamibi. As you all come into the room, just say hi, introduce yourself, hit the scale emojis for me, and hit yours is the flower, right? Hit
Yes.
the flower for Hunsi LaBelle Venus, or sorry, Mambo LaBelle Venus. I was reading Hunsi Ferdasi as I was talking about you. Hi, Hunsi Ferdasi.
Hey, Ferdasi. Welcome. So I won't be able to, I'm just noticing this, like, I won't be able to comment apparently because of how it's like set up, but
Okay.
I'll respond verbally as we go.
Okay. Yeah, that's typically how I do it too, because I'm not the best multitasker at all. So if I'm trying to type and then I'll be sitting there with my mouth open, staring into the screen, all kind of stuff.
Girl,
So
same,
yeah, I
same.
just typically respond verbally.
Yeah.
Hey, Alizone, good to see you.
Hello, welcome everybody. For those of you who are just joining, if you could share the link, invite everyone. I don't believe we're streaming to my channel today yet, but it'd be helpful to share the link so that way people know that we're live, that we're outside.
So we discussed a few topics before coming in here. So we know what we're going to talk about. But if you guys have a topic that you want to share or you want us to touch on, make sure that you post it in the comments section. Um, so Venus, where do you think we should start?
Let's start with Megan. Like let's start with that. Let's start with her interview that she did on Club Shay Shay.
Hmm.
So what I want to know, so just to get started, what are your thoughts on the interview as a whole? Like what are your thoughts?
It felt it felt rehearsed, and what I mean by that is that it seemed like she had some very specific things that she was hell bent on saying, and she was going to find a way to bring those things up, right? So no, I don't think that she and Shannon Sharp rehearsed the interview, but I feel like she was extremely guarded, and she had just some things that she was just going to say no matter what.
Yeah.
It just felt really uncomfortable. It felt kind of stiff at times. Um, she did say some things that were some really big red flags for me, right? Like when she was talking about how she first started dating Jonathan Majors, and she's like, "Yeah, everybody told me not to date him. My manager told me not to. My friends. He even tried to talk me into not." I'm like, "Girl, what the?"
Okay, so I may not have heard that part. So
Okay.
okay, so I may not have heard that part, or it may have just gone over my head because I did step away for a little bit.
Hmm.
But I did read about that online about people telling her like not to talk to him, to kind of stay away, especially like while he was going through his legal situation, and her just being like, well, I really like so yeah, I did read about that. But in terms of like the interview that I did see, or the parts of the interview that I did see, I did think it was hella weird. Like just to being honest with you, like when I first started watching, I was like, oh, child, I'm trying to care. I was like, it was so boring at first. I was just like, oh, I'm trying to care. But then as I sat and I started listening to it, um, and the interesting thing about it is that the YouTube comments did not match what I was feeling. Like everybody was like, "Oh, this is so beautiful," but I thought it was really inauthentic. You know, kind of like how we discussed. It almost kind of makes you sad in a way because it was like she was so guarded, and I really want to know like what happened to her to make her feel like she had to maintain this little cookie cutter good girl image. You know, it's like she tried really hard to be like, oh, I'm just this good person, nothing bothers me, I don't have any negative feelings about anything, you know what I mean? And I just it didn't seem realistic, if that makes sense. Like it didn't seem like a realistic way of living, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because part of it, I wonder how much of that has to do with Shannon Sharp's interview style. Because he doesn't push back a lot, right? Like he doesn't ask the best follow-up questions. And so there were a couple of times where there were good opportunities if he knew how to push a little to get more, right?
Yeah.
There was one part where she was talking about like cutting her hair in order to change her image, right?
Yeah.
And try to like step away from like the bombshell, like girlfriend image that she was being pushed into, right? And it's like that would have been such a great opportunity to dig in a little deeper and find out a little bit about her. How has that made her more guarded? Like, is that something that she still feels that she struggles with, or does she feel like she conquered it? But he just went off in some other weird ass direction and didn't even have anything to do with what she was saying, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, especially if you are a person that struggles with inauthenticity, you can really get away with a lot in an interview like that where somebody's not really challenging you, you know?
Yeah. I think it's funny that you brought that up because like with Shannon Sharp, well, of course, like many others, I started watching him for real after the Cat Williams interview. I know I've talked to you about him before, but I mean, I have heard him say that he's not an interviewer, you know, for real. But I did see that throughout the interview, I feel like it was kind of shade. Like he has a way of bringing, you know, he has a way of like being a little shady and bringing it up. But as soon as you like answer, you know, with your answer, he doesn't go deeper than that. He just, it's like you could tell that he can tell that it's bullshit, but it's almost like he's afraid to like, and you know, dig deeper, you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's like he's afraid to like maybe ask, or he's not comfortable. He's not comfortable with asking some of those harder hitting questions. But with her, like you, I don't know her that well. I haven't followed her career that well. But from what I can tell with Megan, first of all, she's done a lot of cringy stuff. The whole relationship with Jonathan is very cringy and it is very weird. If you look at pictures with them together, it's so forced, girl, all the way down to like the matching court outfits. Like, who is that for? You know, like who is that for? You know what I'm saying? The I'ma stand beside him comments and stuff like that. It's all weird. But one thing that I've noticed about her through watching this interview is like she uses her faith and she uses her religion as a way to hide and not really let people get to know her, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a fake piousness there or a fake humility.
You were a church girl, so you probably you probably experienced people like this in your church where it's like you've been around them for years, in some cases decades, and you know nothing about them other than their favorite Bible verse and that God is good all the time because all the time God is good. Like that's literally all that they will give you, right? And she very much gives that energy where it's like and that's what it is. It's like I didn't get any glimpse into her personhood after this interview. You know, like God seems to be like a shield for her. And it's like God should never be a shield of protection, yes, but God is an invitation for you to understand more about yourself.
Yes, yes.
So I'm great. It's great that you know these Bible verses, and it's great that you're sharing this stuff about your faith with us. But all it's done is distance us from you as an audience. It hasn't
Yep.
brought us closer to you, right?
And because you know that I come from that back. I grew up like the church is my history. And I even dealt with some of that before. You know, it's just like trying to be good. You know, X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z. And that's also how I came to understand that that's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? But that's also how I was able to see straight through that shit. Like, girl, if you hurt, say that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, if you hurt, you know, if somebody hurt your feelings or if that was hard for you, say that. Like, it doesn't make you any less holy. It doesn't make you any less human. And I think that that is some of what's going over her head a little bit. Or there's like a specific type of healing that she needs with that. You
Yeah.
know? Because there's a disconnect there.
Do you think that comes from her experience of being in the business? Because she did talk about one point in the interview. She was like, you know, I come from a generation. I think she was talking about it when she was talking about Tyler Perry and like her history of payment in the industry. And she did say, you know, I come from a generation where if you say too much or if you ask for too much, you get a reputation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
I think
wonder.
there's layers. I think there's a lot of layers to dissect watching her. So yes, I do feel like because he did kind of, if you watch the interview, he did kind of try to segue to get her to speak up because we all know that being in the entertainment industry and being in the spotlight ain't no hoe, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not an easy job to do, and it certainly isn't easy growing up in the spotlight in the ways that she did, you
Yeah.
know. And so I think that he was trying to get her to, you know, talk more candidly about those things, but she kind of shied away from it. But I definitely, I did pick up on the fact that she did have a hard time, or, you know, kind of reading in between. She may have had a hard time being assertive,
Mm-hmm.
asking for the type of pay, but you know, from my own experience coming up in an extremely religious background like that, sometimes those spaces encourage us to be more passive or make you feel like the angry black woman for standing comfortably, you know, like in your power, asking for what you feel like you deserve. So I picked up on some wounds around that. And then also you know, the hair cutting thing, but then also her, I think that she also has, or she may not have been as confident as she came off originally because listening to some of her childhood stories around like, oh, everybody was just so mean to me, you know, everybody, you know, I was just so perfect, kind of in a way. That's how it was coming off to me. It's like, oh, I was so perfect that everybody was just so mean to me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of layers. I think there was a lot going on.
Do you feel that she has a type when it comes to men?
Do you know anybody that she's dated outside of these two? Outside of
That's a great question. I know she's dated a couple like singers and rappers and stuff, but I can't think about anybody offhand. Let me rephrase the question. Do you feel like Devon and Jonathan have any similarities?
the head shape. I, the head shape, you know, like I could say the muscles,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I don't know her ex-husband enough to know, you know, how anything too deep about him. But
Yeah.
I know Jonathan be doing the most, you know, and that's not really like her ex-husband. He was more uh quiet, more reserved.
Ocean Committee said they were both
They were
black
both
men.
black men. if you were one of those people that thought that Jonathan was civil rights fine, like I guess you could say that they were fine. But for me, I feel like Jonathan, he kind of always looked like Devon is finer to me. Like he's better looking in a way.
I know Devon is your type. You have a very
Yes.
specific type.
I'm more of a Michael B. Jordan girly or a Usher, you know, that aesthetic.
You like pretty boys.
Yes, I like the pretty boys. Jonathan kind of looked like, what's the little Cabbage Patch dolls with muscles? He looked like a little wrinkled Cabbage Patch doll with muscles to me. So it's like, I don't see the correlation, but power. I think she's attracted to the power, first of all. I'm not going to say that she did have genuine feelings because I do believe that she did love her husband and she was, you know. But when it comes to Megan, based off of her behavior and some of the things that she said, I think that she has a deep yearning for power that she may not be, first of all, aware of. I don't think she may be aware of it, but I think that she is attracted to the power in these men, or maybe like the doors that they can open, if that makes sense, you know?
We got some tea coming from the chat. Apparently she dated Tyrese, which I did not know.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Signs of love making. Yeah, she like a good looking like black man for sure.
I agree with you about the spotlight thing. I do think that well, now that we know she dated Tyrese, I do think there's a desire to have a partner with a shared spotlight. I think she does want that power couple thing very badly. And again, I don't know her relationship with Jonathan. I'm not in there a long time, so I can't speak to that. But I wonder how much of that causes her to project feelings onto people, right? Because if you're seeking that, then of course you can constantly find yourself in high-profile relationships, as opposed to dating people for quality of person. Because when you look at all three of these men, they have nothing in common in terms of character.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, muscles. At least that's what I see.
They're all black and they all spend time in the gym.
Right. They have nice haircuts.
Only two of them have hair. What about hair?
She said add Lil Wayne. Now see, now I'm very confused. I'm very confused with that one as well. Because we all know that he got the 3-piece going on. So, and Lil Wayne to me was not, you know, whatever. But yeah, I do think that she does want, you know, a relationship where I'll say that the man maybe out earns her or also matches what she makes. Mm-hmm. But also, yeah, she may. Oh yeah, 50 Cent. Now, come on, y'all.
Now, see, I felt like I knew about 50 Cent, but I didn't want to say it because I wasn't certain. But I feel like I remember that. Yeah. I feel like her dating 50 Cent is at the time where she ended up hanging out with the Kardashians and being on that leash with Khloe and all that weird shit. Okay. Venus looks so confused.
Wait, what?
I do be collapsing a bunch of things into one. So at one point, she was friends with Khloe Kardashian. And for whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea for Khloe Kardashian to dress up like a pimp and for Megan Good and her friends to dress up like Khloe's property.
Oh,
and
so Megan
walked around with them on literal leashes. There's pictures of it on the internet. Yeah. The 2000s were a weird time, girl.
Wow. I had no idea that was her. But then again, I didn't like stare. I just heard of it. You know, I didn't know who the women were. Like, ooh, yikes. That's like, yikes. I did not know about that. But yeah, I wish, because it would have been an opportunity, I feel like, you know, for maybe, for especially people for me that didn't really know her that well, to actually get to know her. And then also a chance for like, her audience to get to know her that well. There were certain things that I thought was actually funny, but let's just talk about it. But these were things that I witnessed like in the church. I watched people be nitpicking, or pick apart like which parts of the religion that that they wanted. And that was something she was kind of doing as well too. She was like, throughout the interview. So I don't know. I wish she would have, took the opportunity to speak more candidly. One of the first thoughts that came to my mind while she was talking was like, wow, her PR training is like out of this world. I had even wondered if like Shannon sent the questions to her prior to the interview, because it was like she was just, she was just like ready to go.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was something that happened.
That's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I just feel like there were some missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of her having a better opportunity to give us a sense of who she is as a person, but just bigger conversations. Like Megan Good is known for being a gorgeous girl. You know what I mean? It's something that happens a lot in Hollywood is with these beautiful actresses. Because another Megan Fox, the white one, right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Same thing happened to her. She got typecast really bad too because she's so pretty, right? Mm-hmm. And I do think it's fair to have conversations about the downsides of pretty privilege when it comes to Hollywood. Yeah. That would also be, especially with her being a woman of faith, that's a really important conversation to have. Like, how do it's tough being a pretty girl in the church.
I'm literally excited because we could have a conversation about that. And also how mean people are to pretty women.
People are mean to pretty women. They make you into a problem instead of it being an issue about the self-control of men, right?
Yep.
That would have been a great conversation for her to bring up and have. Because we watched that firsthand what she went through with her marriage, right?
Yeah.
The way that she got slut shamed and talked about really, really badly when she was Devon. I understand why she did the interview because literally that same day she had a movie coming out, right? But also, I just feel like the way it was done, it was just a missed opportunity to connect with her fans.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of avenues that she could have taken, but I see that she did what she was comfortable with. But I also I'm going to stand on business and just also say that not only does she just personally want to keep a particular image, but I also just feel like there may just be industry pressure too, because she's been around for a long time. She's probably seen horror stories of the downfall of people, and the do's or the don'ts. She probably doesn't want to become victim to that, So I can kind of see in a way that see why she approached the interview the way that she did. But there was something that she had said, and I think that was great to take home. But there was something that she said about how your prayers mature over time. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was beautiful. And I thought that was something that we could all relate to as, priests or just on our spiritual journey, is that, in hindsight, your prayers do change. They do evolve, and as they should, So I thought that was something really beautiful or awesome that she actually said during the interview.
That is a really good thing to point out. And it's very true, too. I was just saying to one of my godchildren last week, like, there are things that I pray for now that I wouldn't have allowed myself to when I was younger.
Yeah.
Due to arrogance, due to just lack of wisdom, lack of understanding that it's even okay to pray for those things, right? You would have never caught me in my 20s praying about my love life. And I looked like a bitch who wasn't praying about it. My love life in my 20s was very reckless, right?
Yeah.
And I understand now if there's anything in your life you should pray over, it's your love, right? Not just romantic love, but you pray for the people you love. So it makes sense, right?
Yep.
Money. I was raised that you don't pray about money. Praying about money is a sign of ingratitude, right? You don't ask God for things, you just ask him for good conditions, right?
That's greedy.
Yeah, you're greedy if you pray for things. But again, like some of us can't keep our money because we're not praying over it. We're not protecting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really good point that she brought up. And it's very true. It's very true.
A lot
Um,
of things.
yeah.
There were also some comments that she made to which she also alluded to how I think traumatic some of her experiences have been being in the spotlight, but also the expectations of her community. Do you remember when she talked about like, well, I was on the cover of these men's magazine and X, Y, and Z, and I didn't wear this or I didn't wear that. And then also when she got divorced from Devon, they tore her up like, oh, Megan must have did this, Megan must, must have done that. So regardless of also like how she feels, I wish that those were things that she also would have talked about as well too, because I think that all women need to hear about that,
Absolutely.
like we all need to hear about that, but also just, tell it her story of faith. There was a lot, I'll just say as well, that just came out that I was like, yeah, that's accurate, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Growth does take time, but if you are also upset and you're feeling away, it's also okay to be like, I'll knock all this shit over sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And just like kick something or whatever. So yeah, I wish I got to support that too. So
for those of you who are just entering the room, hi, I'm Mambo Soleil, and I'm here with my sister Mambo LaBelle Venus. You are here for our happy hour segment. This is where we gossip, talk about trending topics, and just share space with each other. It's been a long week. I don't know about y'all, but I had a long week. So having a little time to just sit around, have a cocktail, catch up with people, it feels good.
yes.
And right now we are talking about Megan Good and her recent Club Shay Shay interview. Um, before we wrap up on Megan, was there anything else you wanted to say about the interview?
Can we talk about Shannon Sharp's viral outfit really quickly with his bag?
A recent one, because I just remember the green outfit.
Yeah, it was the green outfit, girl. I was like, ooh.
The crazy thing is, the outfit itself wasn't bad. It was the auntie hip stance.
It was given, I'm a baddie, I'm an auntie, okay? And I just thought that was
auntie hip stance. You know how I consider myself an auntie. I'm at that age now, and I do have literal nieces and nephews. Yes. You know how we stand to the side and put all our weight on one hip? That's what made that viral. And then the fact that he had on a huge orange purse.
Yes, he did, and then everything about it was just funny. It is like the muscles ripping through the outfit and the stance. I was just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. I like him though. I like his show now. I remember we talked about the shape of the head, shape of his head. But yeah, I like his show. I like his podcast, and I think now he's going to continue to get a really good audience, or he'll continue to reach a very specific amount of people.
Yeah, I like his show. I want to see Shannon win. And I know he's not a journalist. He's been very clear about that. But I just need this man to engage a little bit more because a lot of missed opportunities in these conversations he has.
I'm trying to think of who it is. Well, we know Gayle King, regardless of how she is. Gayle King is really good at pulling. This may tell on me, you guys. I might be a little bit old here. But what's the lady? Was it Diane?
Diane Sawyer?
Yes.
Is she still with us? I'm not trying to be funny. I don't know.
That's what I said. I don't know. This might tell on me because y'all know.
She's still with us.
But yeah, she was amazing. We need more of that. We need more of that. But I don't know if she is still with us. I have to.
I'm afraid to even say this man's name. He is a terrible person. Okay, I don't know that for sure. He has been accused of being a terrible person. I know that he falls out with a lot of people. But if you've watched his interviews, he's actually really good. And I'm afraid to say it. If Joe Budden can get his shit together and not be such a repulsive person, I knew you were going to roll your eyes, but he's a good interviewer.
Also, I was like,
he's a good interviewer. Like he's one of those people where it's like damn, if you could have just found your calling a little earlier before you did all this fuck shit in the public eye.
Yes. You're right. I'll give it to him.
Obnoxious person. I didn't even want to say it, but I also don't want to lie. I gotta give people credit for where credit is due. And he actually is a good interviewer.
He is.
That's why it sucks that he's such a repugnant person.
Yeah. So I don't know how Cam Newton classifies himself, but I think he does well, but he still does maybe it's a football player or ex-sport or ex-athlete thing where they pull away. I don't know. But he does.
They be going off on tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've watched Cam Newton's podcast a few times and I've enjoyed it. But there's been a couple times where it's like, we did not need this 10-minute tangent that you just went on.
Yeah, sometimes he try to be all deep, like, is that all?
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Leave these people alone. Like, yeah, so I know exactly what you mean. Joe Budden, yeah, he and I'm
that's the thing. You don't even want to give this credit because he's such a normal person. It's hard to do, girl, I know. But I watched a couple of interviews he's done with artists, and then I recently watched, and I don't remember the man's name, but he was interviewing like an executive from Apple. And I was sitting there thinking, damn, I really care about this shit. And I didn't care about it until I watched this interview. Like, I don't understand like streaming and all that stuff, but he asked questions in a way that made me interested to figure out the answer or hear the answer. And I think that's a skill. You know what I know? You know what I mean? Yeah. Being able to ask good questions in an interview is a skill. Joy Scott said the rolling of the eyes. I've never seen Venus roll her eyes this much in my whole podcast life. Well, this is hilarious to me.
Like, I just look at him and I'm just like, bro.
Venus rolled her eyes so hard I thought she was gonna fall asleep on here, y'all. Like,
I was like, bro, like Joe Budden is something else. He's like one of those
interviewer. He's a boil of a person, but he has talent in that one area.
I'm gonna use that.
You know someone who's a boil of a person. Should we talk about Drake?
Can we talk about Drake? And have y'all seen? Okay, have y'all seen the pictures of Drake? First of all, okay, have we seen them going around? I will tell you guys, I was one of those people that once Drake got the beard and the ab etching, I was like, yes, he looked good. Okay,
I remember that.
When he got with the ab etching and he popped out with the beard, I said, oh.
I remember you saying that, and I remember being like, he still looks like a puppy.
Yeah, before that, I don't know what was going. Yeah, he did. He looked neglected. He looked unloved. He looked unfed. To me, like unhappy.
Not unloved and unfed. Not an unloved, unfed millionaire.
Yes, he looked like that. And then it was just like when he got the beard, I was like, comment on myself. Lay by what you need.
Well, child, all I can say is I already didn't want to go up against Kendrick Lamar just because I don't want anybody to pull me apart the way that he did Drake verbally. But if it does that to your skin, if it gives you that many wrinkles, I really don't want to get into an argument with Kendrick Lamar.
I have a theory that Kendrick Lamar's ancestors is over there whooping his ass. I feel like they are tearing Drake apart. How does this man go from looking like that in a matter of like what is I mean, but it also raised the question, is there something else that's going on? Like, is he sick? You know?
So here's the thing, and I didn't know this until recently. Because basically, okay, so I, like a lot of people, was obsessively watching all their videos and stuff around the time that the whole beef thing happened. Yeah. So now, unfortunately, my YouTube algorithm is off. So whether I want it or not, I just get suggested videos about Drake and Kendrick all the time. And I didn't know this until recently, but apparently last year, Drake had said that he was going to take a break from music because he had severe gastrointestinal issues. and he just wanted to figure out what was going on with his body.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah, I thought briefly about it. I was like, it's such a short period of time too, right? So I was like, is there something else? I mean, I know being at that level and getting your ass whooped like that, like lyrically, has to be stressful. But I was like, yeah, there might be something else going on too, because that would it's a big difference. Are you? Well, the pictures that you saw, were they the ones from the party?
The party. Oh. Where his skin looked really leathery.
Yeah. She said, someone said he put his songs on the altar before he went to the studio.
I've seen people say that. I've seen people say that he anointed his pen before he sat down to write his song.
Yes.
He did something. He did something. But I think Kendrick, I mean, I'm a huge Kendrick fan, which y'all's godfather, Hugon, makes fun of me a lot for, but I've always been a huge Kendrick fan. And if you listen to any of his music, even when he's talking about fuck shit, you can tell Kendrick is very tapped in to his ancestors in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say my favorite thing that came out of all of this was, well, first like that, hold on. Let's see. Like That with Future and Metro Boomin, that was a bop. That was a bop. That the beat was crazy, okay? But I would have to say I think those three are my favorites. Not Like Us, BBL, that's my cut right there. And then Like That. So Like That, Not Like Us, and BBL Drizzy.
My favorite thing to come out of all this is that I think we're about to get a DJ Mustard resurgence, which I'm excited about because I love a DJ Mustard song. Half the time, I don't even know who be singing or rapping over DJ Mustard's beats. I just be excited to hear DJ Mustard.
If I'm not mistaken, was he the one that worked with LMA?
He's done stuff with LMA, yeah. He's done a bunch of stuff with Ty Dolla $ign. That's how I found DJ Mustard, was through Ty Dolla $ign. But YG, everybody. Yeah. Okay. If you heard his songs, you'd be able to recognize it. His sound is very distinct.
Okay. I know of him, but I was like, was he on break? Was he on vacation? Sabbatical?
I don't think he ever stopped making music. But you know how like one producer their sound will take over for like a year or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Megan's producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. London on the Track. He had a whole era.
Exactly. So I would like to see that happen again with DJ Mustard because we could use another DJ Mustard summer.
Or DJ Khaled. I think I'm cool on DJ Khaled for a little while. he owned the decade almost, I feel like. So
what do you think, Drake? What would it take? So 2-part question. What do you think he should be doing with his time right now? Like, what would be the best thing for him? And then connected, but slightly different. Do you see him being able to bounce back from everything that happened?
I think that Drake needs to be healing, for one, because I think, whatever he has going on physically, I think that he needs to be healing from. But I think that he will recover because people are just kind of gonna forget. But also, like, his fans I still see them going hard for him on social media. There's people still arguing, Drake won, Drake killed Kendrick. Like, what do y'all mean? Like, who is, I've seen that too. So I do see him coming back, but I think the pedophile stuff is going to stick. I think that now that question is there. I think that the allegations with women and the dating history that we've seen from him, some of the interviews that I've seen of young women talking about him and their encounters with him, I don't think that stuff is going to go away.
I don't think it is either, especially because it's so frequent. It's so frequent and it's so intricate. Like, I don't know the young lady's name, but I saw the clip of there was a female producer that was on one of his albums. And I saw the clip of her talking about how she met him. She was like, "Yeah, I was on a high school girls basketball team. He was a big fan of my girls basketball team. He was following one of my friends, and that's how he found out about me." And he basically like discovered her when she was like 16 years old because he follows a bunch of like high school sports stars.
Mm-mm.
That's weird. Like, what
It is
grown man
weird.
likes high school girls basketball?
He's done a bunch of weird shit. And I know for me, I'm not going to forget about it. Like, I was not aware of the Millie Bobby Brown situation at all. I talked to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of it. Like, I didn't know anything about that. But watching her interview, God, I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to say it wrong, but I think she might have been 14 or something. It was crazy young in her interview. She was like, "Yeah, Drake texts me. He misses me." Why the? I don't want to get our YouTube video taken down. But I would try to think of like how I feel about my nieces, my nephew, or just children in general. Why is somebody that age who's been in the industry, he's Drake, you know better. You know what I'm saying? Texting a child that age anyways and being like, "I miss you." There are mentoring situations, don't get me wrong, but there are also proper avenues. Why are you texting her? What it was just so weird to me. Like, why are you giving her dating advice? That's not mentorly. That's, you know what I'm saying?
And then I see why people say you have to look at the parents because what's going on? Like, why is a 37-year-old man, 36-year-old man even allowed to have those kind of conversations with your daughter? There's nothing that he should miss about your daughter. He don't know her.
We're not friends. We are not friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so A minor. I don't think that that's gonna go away, and I don't think that it should. Like, those types of behaviors need to be exposed, and I hope that people continue to be held accountable for those actions. But if anything, I think that suspicion will stick. We'll have to see. We may have to do a reading to see like what comes of it. You know, like what consequences will he get, or what people can expect to see in terms of that. But I think that the public idea around Drake is going to change a little bit. He may still make money, but yeah. So, OVO. I know y'all tired of me and my quotes today, but
it's hard. Like, that song is so infectious.
It is.
I be looking for reasons to call somebody an OVO.
OVO.
It's just so good.
It is good. How? Oh man, I haven't heard a diss track that turned into a movement in a minute. Like it was just so good. Like, man, I loved it. The dance and everything.
Yeah.
The dance and everything. Let's see. What else do we have on our list? So we talked about Drake. We ran over Miss Good. Who else? Who else do we have on our list? Or what else do we have?
Last two topics were presidential debate and the rise in alcoholism of Black women.
I'm curious to hear about your thoughts on the rise in alcoholism in Black women.
I would like to talk about it too.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen it be something to come up with just women in my life, you know? And I feel like it's gotten really bad after the pandemic. I haven't pulled any cards on it. I haven't sat with spirit about it, but it is something that's concerning me. You know what I mean? Anytime that there's an increase in anything related to mental health with Black men or Black women, I get nervous, right? So like, for example, since the pandemic, there's been an increase with suicide attempts and successful suicides with Black men, right? Since the pandemic. So that's concerning to me. But yeah, I'm wondering, I am wondering why it's happening, but also just like what can we do to support our sisters, and also to keep an eye out for it. Because another thing, and I wish I'd have had the link to the study that I saw, but Black women are really good at hiding their alcoholism, right? Especially out of fear of losing public favor. Because we hold space so much for so many people, we don't want I'm speaking as the collective, right? We don't want people to know about our addictions for two reasons. It's twofold. A, we don't want to be a burden to other people, right? We don't want to be seen as a failure or a burden. But also, if somebody knows that I have this problem, then they won't come to me for help, right? So it's like that addiction to, not addiction, somewhat of an addiction to being a pillar, right?
Yeah.
You don't even want to have a problem, because if people see you as a problem, then they won't come to you for help, right? But I also think that that is a part of the reason why there is an increase. Black women do so much for so many people.
Yeah.
And I think that carrying that kind of weight shows up in forms of self-harm. I think that in previous generations, the forms of self-harm that has shown up as have been things that we now know aren't good for us, but we didn't clock them as addictions, right?
Yeah.
So, like gambling or overeating, right? Those are things that I think that especially women, our elders, they dealt with that a lot, and it got excused as something. It wasn't seen as an addiction. So even the fact that it's a shift into this much more, because when we think of alcoholism, we think of men, right? Regardless of the race, we think of men. So even the fact that it's gone into this much more masculine form of addiction, I think that there's something interesting there, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we should be looking out for and talking about. I'm gonna be, and I hate to say this because it's gonna make me sound like the old bitch in my room. Whatever, I'm in my 40s. I can sound like that. For me, what has me concerned is that I'm seeing it in women that are super young, like early 20s, mid 20s, you know? So that has me concerned, because I'm like, okay, well, what levels of pain are we dealing with at 23, 24, 25? Where we're drinking like, our literal fathers, like, we're drinking like our uncles and our fathers as 25-year-old women, to smother pain. It's a lot. Oshun Committee says depression, stress, general fatigue are some of the main causes of vice increase. Some of it is environmental, others just because we are tired. I can feel that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how is pain being measured? That's an important question. Yeah. Because there is this fucked up, and it's a part of, it's a little part of colonization. There is this belief that Black women can take more pain than other people.
Yeah.
And we talk about it a lot in terms of the medical health industrial complex, specifically as it relates to hospitals, but I really think that it shows up in other areas too,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just jotting down notes as you're speaking, because prior to, let's just like briefly talking about it today, I didn't even think about how bad it was, or I wasn't aware that it was that big of a problem right now. But as you were speaking, some of the things that kind of come to mind is like, I think that we as Black people, we're guilty of not liking the terms addiction. We don't like to really talk about, I'll say generationally, mental health. Or you know how like when we talk about in the Divine Feminine mentorship that we did about like the wounds and how wounds just sound so dirty. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and like people may associate, oh, I'm not addicted, I'm not sick, and there's a variety of reasons why we may feel that way as a community, why we don't want to have discussions, or why we, may not want to admit or even feel comfortable, having those types of conversations. But I think that kind of adds to kind of what you were saying as to like why it's almost unnoticed, maybe unchecked even. But also, I think that we work so hard, we're overwhelmed, the strong woman trope that we talk a lot about in society, that we don't even realize sometimes when we're doing it. I read a really short article. I don't know who put it out, but there was this woman where she kind of told her story about like her not knowing that she had an issue. And so reading her story, her situation was, I'm in college, I need to be successful, everybody's depending on me, like money, I don't want to waste my money here, everything is riding on me getting this career. And so she didn't even realize that she was taking stimulants all day out of being tired, taking stimulants, relying on, not saying that caffeine is a drug. Okay. I love caffeine. You know what I'm saying? But like for her, that's what it was. She was relying on coffee to stay awake and stimulants like coffee to stay awake and get all her work done and being successful or making the grade and getting the job or whatever. She was relying on those things. But then she became reliant on, I don't say weed, but she became reliant on alcohol to go to sleep. According to her story, she became reliant on wine and liquor to go to sleep or to unwind every day. And she said before she knew it, over time, she was every day. This was her cycle every day. And she said she didn't even think that she was capable of addiction, or she didn't realize maybe she was genetically predisposed to addiction. But that's what it looked like for her. She became reliant on these things, in order for her to wake up and also for her to go to bed at night. And it was taking a toll on her health, because when you didn't have these things, she couldn't function. You know what I'm saying? And her life and her productivity suffered for it. So I think that, yes, that is perfect what Soulful Healing Artist says. She says it's the new normal. It's so normal. And it does feel weird to say, oh, hey, because, right? Like, who is that? Oh, I'm an alcoholic, but we have to look at things for what they are.
Yeah.
Reading the comments. I want to be there for that reading because the last one was good. We found out a lot. Which reading?
I don't know.
Which reading?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's something for us to be mindful of, because another thing that I wonder is, I think alcoholism is something that we're comfortable talking about with men for some reason. And I've been saying that for a while. I was going to prepare a lecture about this, and I don't even know how to approach it. I think we're comfortable with kicking our daddies' backs in, but we don't want to say nothing about our mamas. Collectively as a people. And I think that causes us to suffer because we don't allow our mother spaces to be human. Right? And so some of this, I wonder, is it not so much that there is an increase as it is that just more women are talking about it, talking about that struggle, right? I wonder how many of us had aunts, had mothers, had, grandmothers that drank in silence, or, used in private, right? I wonder how much that pain is one that was just hidden when it came to women. How much of this is generational?
Yeah.
I really don't think that alcoholism is just a male problem in our communities.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and so I wonder, is this one of those things very much like miscarriage, where in our community, it's not that women weren't dealing with it, it's just that there was no safe spaces for them to talk about it.
Yeah, I can see that. As you know, well, I don't know how many of you here, or even you, Mambo Soleil, can relate to maybe like growing up in a home where they're like, what happens here is our business, and you can't tell anybody, or it was just, you'd be shunned, or, you would get in trouble or face consequences. I think that may be a part of it too, and then also as women, a lot of us grew up with just dealing with stuff privately, we're just trying to figure it out. I know that's been a part of my healing journey, and my walk is also learning how to voice what I'm going through and utilizing my community and my friends, you know.
Mhm.
But that's a thing. It's a thing. It's just we try to sometimes bump our head alone and try to figure it out, you know, or we may think without the proper support that we're dealing with the pain, and that's not necessarily the best way to deal with the pain, you know.
Mhm.
So I think that there's a lot that goes into it for sure. But I definitely think that this is a conversation that we need to have. Um, and then it's like, you know, especially like in the media when we see TV. I know I watch some of my shows. This is what it looks like. Everybody's coming home every day, and they're drinking at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
no longer. And I might be telling on myself. Didn't you watch Sanford and Son?
Yeah. I was just about to say there was a whole generation of television where when people came home from work, either they poured themselves a drink or their wife or their partner was at the door with the drink for them, right?
Yep. Or you see what used to be called as a wino or alcoholic. People would drink themselves into stupors on the weekend, like actual stupors, like you passed out, and then on Monday they're back on the grind, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for us to talk about.
Alcohol is not going to go anywhere. It's just not. And also, depending on your spiritual practice, it can be a necessary part of it, right? And I
Absolutely.
think that for me, that's a huge part of the reason why I care about this is because I think that, you know, for many of us, we have to have healthy relationships to it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance and in all things balance. And this is just like one of them. Alcohol is so accessible, you know. It's fun, it's promoted all the time, and you're right, we do use it, but it's one of those things that we have to be mindful of and
Yeah.
use it as a crutch for sure.
Yeah. We struggle in the West so much with moderation in general.
Yeah.
And then I think when you add like trauma and access and all these other issues to that, it makes it worse.
Absolutely. Moderation is key. You know, I've been guilty of having one taco too many. Find me a good taco truck and I'm there. I'm backsliding. You know.
Don't say taco truck to me. Atlanta doesn't have any.
Yeah, Atlanta does not have good. I mean, if you're watching this and you can point us in the direction of really good Mexican food, please do. But I have not had it out there.
Good Mexican food that is not smothered in queso. Because y'all think that smothering something in queso is going to make it taste good. And if the steak ain't seasoned, and if the rice ain't seasoned, smothering it in queso is not going to make it taste good. I don't know how many times I got to tell people that.
It's not gonna fit. It's a lubricated lie at this point.
It's a lubricated lie.
It's a lubricated lie. Y'all not fooling nobody. Mm-mm.
So I have one more topic I'd like for us to talk about, and then we can wrap up. And it's actually, it may be a little late, but you are an Usher stan, and I am an Usher stan. So I feel like we would be, we would have failed, you know, our leader if we didn't address how we felt about his tribute. Did you see his BET tribute?
Okay, girl. I thought you were gonna tell me something disappointing, and I was gonna have to log off and go cry and be like, "Oh, you know, I thought my
that was the second time your facial expression took me out. First, it was you almost rolling your eyes until you fell asleep when I talked about Joe Burton.
Y'all thought I was gonna have to go get my inhaler because I was like, "What did Usher do now?" Like we can't. Not right. I'm not ready for. I'm not ready for Usher to be taken from me. Okay, but no, I haven't watched. Are you talking about on the BET Awards?
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I've been meaning to get around to it. I want to because I heard they did a tribute and he did. He did so good. But I think that there was there something weird with his speech? I'm assuming because people.
You know what? I have not watched the speech because I just haven't. But I have watched the tribute. And so you need to watch it. I need to get your opinion. As you know, the president of the Usher Club, I need to know how you feel about it. Because it was, I wouldn't say controversial, but people made it controversial because he didn't have the only male artist he had in his tribute was Donald Glover, and he was a last minute replacement. It was an all female tribute.
Okay.
So I thought it was good, but after a few days after the show, there were people that were, online getting up in arms and saying that why would they take this moment away from men? There should have been male R&B singers.
I am gonna have to revisit that. Let's doorknob that. Let's doorknob that, because I want to be able to really talk about that after coming to, after forming an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have space, I know we weren't expecting to talk about this, but the Megan thing, Megan Good, it kind of made me want to talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have time or space or energy to talk about Tyler Perry?
It's hilarious that you say that, because earlier today I was like, okay, well, we're gonna talk about Megan Good. Let me start watching this movie. So I'm halfway.
Oh, it's out. Okay.
It's out. I'm halfway. The one with her and Corey Hardwick.
The new Tyler Perry movie is out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll watch it today.
Yeah. So I'm halfway through it. But yeah, girl, let's talk about Tyler Perry. Let's go and do it. Let's get it on out the way.
Look, let me do my stretches here. Okay, so just like everything in life, I feel like no one's all good and no one's all bad, right? I want to talk about ways that, first of all, I'll start off the conversation by highlighting what I think that Tyler Perry does well and what I say he has done for the community. So what I will say is that Tyler Perry, I have heard his name come up a lot in terms of people needing Black artists, Black actresses and actors needing jobs, seeking better pay, opportunities, putting them in spaces and rooms and places that they haven't been in before. I will say kudos to Tyler Perry for doing that. Kudos to Tyler Perry for being a pioneer and owning one of the largest Black-owned businesses, that's available right now. Kudos to Tyler Perry for reaching the audiences that he has, and making history. However, what I also want to talk about is, the unpopular opinion is like, how is Tyler Perry problematic? How is his behavior problematic? How is his content problematic in the community? And why is he so comfortable being able to tell a very specific story of the Black woman?
Yeah.
I want to talk about those things. Or we can just dip our toe into it.
Okay, yeah, this is going to be a long conversation. But it's one that's really necessary. I don't think I've ever said this publicly before. I feel the same way about Tyler Perry that I feel about... So Tyler Perry for Black people is what Trump is for white people. Let me explain. I think for a lot of people, it's really easy to kick Tyler. Who is bothering me at this hour?
I was about to say, Mambo, you got that hotline.
I put my phone on silent, and because I'm using my MacBook, I'm still getting the calls coming through. I'm so pissed. Tyler Perry, it's really easy to kick Tyler Perry's back in and act like he's an individual issue, and to a certain degree, he is. Yes, Oshun Kamibi's right. Y'all ask questions so that way we can engage.
Yeah.
But he represents something that's a problem about the bigger Black community. And he very much represents a mirror that we need to face. And that mirror is, I love us. I love us for real. But as a collective, Black people do sometimes think that if you have money and if you have navigated capitalism in a way that makes you upwardly mobile, that is all that matters. Ooh, and that there's no need to work on character. There's no need to confront your biases. There's no need to even treat the people that you employ with kindness, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of Black people want to get money because they feel like it elevates them above other people. which is an expression of white supremacy. But if you say that to Black people, they don't hear it, right? There's a really big problem with us in the US where we think that Black American capitalism is going to save us, and it's not. All it is going to do is make you a capitalist. Now, this is coming from somebody that loves money. I will never tell you to not get money. If you know where we can get some money and I'm not tapping into it, tell a bitch, okay? I will never. But I also, even with the fact that I love money, I understand that money don't make nobody better than nobody else.
It don't.
But we have internalized that as a collective in ways that make us show up really, really gross and fucked up. And Tyler Perry has internalized that understanding in ways, from what I hear, allegedly, from what I hear, that make him show up really gross and fucked up. I've heard stories from actors to people that just work on his work on his compound, right? He is not the greatest to the people that work under him. There are certain people that can't even look him in the face. And so I don't care if you are creating jobs, if in order for people to have those jobs, they're based on some form of degradation.
Yeah.
Then what are you really doing, right? So, and that's why I say Tyler Perry is for Black people what Trump is for white people. Because white people will go off all day about how they don't like Trump and how Trump is a fucked up person, while saying something in the same breath that sounds
I get Trump money.
Or not checking their uncle who says things like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah, he horrible representations of women. Literally has been doing the same thing for what, 25 years? There's been no like elevation. Like, according to his logic, if you're a woman that has strong opinions and enjoys sex, you are going to get STDs, which like the opinion to STD pipeline for Tyler Perry is like insane. But yeah,
that's so lame.
You know it's real.
It's true though. Like, okay, so first of all, let me just say, I almost fell out my chair because you said it so eloquently. Oh my God. I have noticed that even within the family, we think that the fucked up person, sometimes they got all the money, is just better than whoever because they made a little money. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, they're abusive. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, they have poor character, all of the above. So yes, you are so right. And I think that more people need to hear about that. Because
name the most verbally abusive person in your family. I bet you it's the rich auntie. I bet you it's the auntie with money. Most physically abusive is the broke uncle. Most verbally abusive is the rich auntie.
Girl, look, let me not get on here be telling people business today. But but you are absolutely right. And that is the thing. It's like we think that because people have, exceeded a certain level X, Y, and Z, that they're this person, and they're just simply not. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy that you told me, though. I didn't know about all that other stuff on his compound, but that's deplorable. Let me look at some of these comments here. I definitely do think that Tyler Perry. So Brittany says, do you all think that Tyler is intentional and exploits us for his gain? Or do you think he's just Oh, thank you, Mambo. Because I don't have that ability. But I do think that his behavior is intentional. You will literally see Donald Trump in the 90s making comments about the Republican community or just whatever community, and he's like, oh yeah, I know them, I know this is what it's intentional. He understands very well certain, I'll say, like you like to say, Mambo, deficits that we might have, and he exploits them. Absolutely.
I think it's both. I think he's intentional, and the intentionality comes from the myopic view that he has of our community, right?
Yeah.
I know I just compared him to Trump, but I'm gonna compare him to somebody else, right? Look at Diddy. We now have the hindsight to really go in on Diddy, but I remember Diddy's rise to fame. I remember, and it's something that I'm embarrassed to admit now in my adulthood, but I remember being 14 years old in middle school saying, when I grow up, I'm gonna be the female Diddy. Now that I know as an adult what that means, but Diddy was somebody who, in one side of his mouth, he preached Black excellence, but you know, when you look at his partners, they were always light-skinned women. Yes, he had baby by a dark-skinned woman, but he was always promoting like a very colorist perception in terms of who he had in his music videos and who he celebrated, right? Sean John campaigns, it was all like racially ambiguous women, right? That's intentional because you have a platform and you are responsible for the media that you're creating. So yeah, he has a myopic view that, you know, lighter skinned women are attractive, but then that ended up being intentional in terms of what he created. So that's how I feel about Tyler Perry. Yes, he has a myopic view that, you know, a woman just needs to be grateful for a man that gets up and goes to work every day and doesn't beat her. Because if you look at his movies, that is the bottom line. It's like,
I think he may not have used that verbiage, but he said something crazy about that recently. Like
about how women, even if she's making six figures, she needs to be comfortable with somebody who makes a lot less.
Yeah.
It's intentional, but it's intentionality that's built off of a myopic view. So I think it's both. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where it'll take more conversations as a community for it to change. I wanted the empire and the things. I put childish things away. That's one of my favorite scriptures, by the way. That's one of my favorite scriptures, by the way.
Child, so many of us need to work on putting childish things away. You know who needs to work on putting childish things away? The game.
He does. He really does. I only saw clips of him on that podcast, and I'm about to tell him myself on Zeus Network. He was on the podcast with
Auntie.
Okay, Black China's mama. No, she said Black China's mama. Tokyo Tony. That's her name. He was on there. He was just saying some asinine things, and I'm like, bruh, how old are you?
He fucked up his own career with his immaturity. The documentary, his first album, huge fan of that album. The Game is actually a really talented rapper. And if he was able to control his mouth and make mature decisions, I honestly feel like we would talk about him in the realm of the 50 Cents and the Jay-Z's and these other bigger rappers.
You're right.
But he's talked himself out of having a career. And it's due to his impulsivity and his immaturity. There's nothing worse than watching a talented man fuck up their reputation because they don't know how to be grown up.
Yeah. I think that we've also had this conversation in private too, but have you ever seen somebody that's just like fine? And then it's like once they start talking and moving around and acting out, they're no longer fine, they're no longer like attractive. That's kind of
I have had that. That's a struggle for me just in my dating life. I live in Atlanta. I don't know if you know this about me, but I live in Atlanta where the men are beautiful, but just the knuckle dragging energy is so fucking strong.
She's all the time. All the time.
Girl.
Yeah, there's people like that. Like, let's say, and I know y'all gonna get on me because he's short, but the baby, I used to think he was so handsome when he came out, but now I can't. I cannot. Like,
Me too. And I knew he was short, but it's okay. I can deal with a short king. But as soon as he started talking, he went and fucked it up.
Yeah, he fucked it up. His behavior fucked it up.
Do remember the Game's reality show, and I do remember that he owes that lady $7 million.
What? What's the name of this show?
I forget, but it was like, it wasn't for the love of the game. That's for the love of Ray J. It was something that was modeled after For the Love of Ray J. And he ended up getting sued by a contestant because he sexually assaulted her. And she won the case.
Wow.
She won the case, but he ain't got no money, so he ain't really been paying her back.
Despicable. Yeah, he needs to go somewhere and just go ahead, sit on down. Sit on down, partner.
Oshun Committee says she low-key wanted him to defend Meg when all that shit was gone. I wanted the baby to defend Meg too, but then he handled it in the worst way possible. That and all that homophobic is she said. Those were the two things that made it hard. Like I used to love the baby's music. Like some of my last few memories of living in California before I moved here were riding around through California listening to the baby's music. And I can't listen to it anymore.
My husband loves him. I'm just like,
yeah,
no. I do love Megan, but yeah, I was expecting that too because they had a lot of collabs, and from what you could or could see, they had some form of a relationship. So his behavior was really weird there.
Yeah.
So, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that the game had a reality TV show.
Yeah, he had a dating show that did not go well because he's horrible around women.
I think that let's doorknob that as well, Brittany. She asked a question about Chris Brown. I think that could be another happy hour for real.
I wish somebody would have asked that sooner.
I saw your face.
Can we talk about it and that be the last thing we end on?
Okay, we can talk about Chris Brown.
So I'm about to take a controversial stand, and I'm low-key afraid, but I gotta say what's in my heart. Team Chris Breezy. I'm a huge Chris Brown fan. And I know that there are people that are watching this that are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Mambo, no, Mambo, yes." I'm sorry. I listened to him this morning. I hate this generation where we know everything about everybody. Honestly, I've forgiven Chris Brown because Brianna forgave Chris Brown. I can't walk around mad at him for the rest of my life. Oh, if she done forgave him, you know what I mean? So that's where I stand on the issue. But I know a lot of people aren't there. He is a Taurus man. And so it's hard to forgive somebody who literally is looking you in the face and saying, "I don't give a fuck if you forgive me or not."
Yeah.
So, but I know other people feel differently. How you feel about him, Venus?
Yeah. Well, let me ask this question too. I'm the Libra, right? I'm the Libra of the bunch here. So I'm looking at, has Chris Brown, and I don't know, but I do like his music, but has he displayed, outside of his alleged drug addiction, has he exhibited different behaviors? Like, has he exhibited different behaviors? Which is a question for the audience because, like, I honestly don't know. But in terms of my opinion, I agree too. I'm like, if she forgave him, and I also feel like karma is also catching Chris Brown every day that he wakes up. Every day that he wakes up, his career ain't never really recovered because let's talk about it. He is talented, right? I feel like it took his career took a hit, everything that you could think of, he experienced as a result of that. So when do we forgive?
Yeah.
He has literally gotten his ass whooped on several forefronts since it started. People have actually even had beef with him. He's had fist fights, all kinds of stuff over it. So,
yeah,
and I think that this is a great question too. Do you think this will prevent him from getting lifetime achievement awards, etc.? In my opinion, I think that it already has.
I was going to say the same thing.
And that's another point that I wanted to make, because I think that this incident has already kept him out of spaces that he could have been in.
Yeah.
People, now I don't want to misread, but weren't people mad at Jill Scott for saying he was talented or something?
People get mad at every Black woman that defends Chris Brown. They got mad at Lizzo for taking a picture with him. They got mad at Kelly Rowland because she said it's been enough time. We need to forgive him. Like, they have been relentless about the whole not forgiving Chris Brown thing. And my whole thing is, again, Rihanna forgave him. We should forgive him. But the other thing is, like, I'm aware of my deficits, right? And I know that I love fuck nigga R&B. This is why I love Dolla $ign as much as I do. Like,
Me too.
I love Ty Dolla $ign.
I love me some fuck nigga music. I love the ratchet, all of that.
And when it comes to fuck nigga R&B, it's Ty Dolla $ign and Chris Brown.
He said Ty Dolla.
It's those two. They have that genre on lock.
I know Chris Brown.
I forgave him a long time ago.
Ty Dolla $ign. Okay. I didn't know he was in that genre like that. But I know Chris Brown. Yeah, for me. We won't even get on Trey Songz, but I would say that would probably be mine too. Like Trey Songz, Usher, terrible. I know.
You wouldn't classify Ty Dolla $ign as fuck nigga R&B?
I haven't heard enough of his individual music. I've heard what he's done for
you
other
about
people.
To get assaulted with all kind of Ty Dolla $ign songs.
Yeah, it's like he's always in collaboration with somebody else. Like, you know me, I love the R&B. So I'm like over here with like Tony Braxton, Element. You know what I'm saying? And he's like always involved in other people's stuff. But I haven't necessarily like followed his own. Look, she like
his breakout song.
Send the link right now. Yes.
His breakout song, speaking of DJ Mustard, was a song that he did with DJ Mustard called Paranoid. And it's literally about being in a club and seeing the two women he messed with talking to each other and him being on drugs, paranoid that they try to set him up.
I do remember that song. Okay, so that was his. Okay. Maybe
that
I'm
was his
scared.
debut.
Yeah, okay. I remember that. Well, I have to see. But yeah, that's my thing. It's just like I be listening to Chris Brown, and I know I've heard Trey Songz is the devil, but I know that's another conversation for another day. But in terms of Chris Brown, I mean, first of all, for me, the most important thing is has he shown different behaviors? Yes, we know, like you said, is that he's always like, fuck y'all, I don't care, I don't care what y'all say, or I don't care if you forgive me, but hey, it's like he's been reprimanded, he's being reprimanded, not defending him or anything, but because he is terrible, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not talented.
Yes.
And that's the unpopular opinion.
And most of these niggas in the music industry is terrible, so we would have to
no, say, you know what I mean? Like some of the most talented people just be terrible.
Mm-hmm. Well, Venus, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we wrap up, do you want to tell the people about where they can find you, anything you're working on?
Yes. So first of all, thank you guys for having me here. It's fun. We definitely got to do this some more because I'm seeing that there's a lot more things that we can actually talk about for sure. But you guys can find me over on my YouTube channels. Number One Way, formerly Contra Corner, but now it's LaBelle Venus. To be in alignment with everything else, you can find me on YouTube under LaBelle Venus. Also, botanicavenus.com is my website if you're looking to work together in any other sense. Botanica Venus is the Number One Way, and also my link tree, which is also LaBelle Venus. Right now, I'm still accepting mentorship students. So if you are interested in joining in any way, shape, or form and starting your journey into priesthood, I'm accepting students. You can also book readings, anything that you may need. Linktree, Botanica Venus are all great ways to connect with me. I also have a retreat that I am hosting here in Wichita, Kansas in August the 16th through the 19th, I believe. I'll actually be giving you guys an in-person sound bath, so I'm really excited for that. If you guys want more information about the retreat, details, activities, things like that, make sure that you guys visit my link tree because all of those links are there. Every way that you can connect with me, upcoming classes, X, Y, and Z is going to be at my link tree. So I'll try after the live to leave it in the comments.
Yeah, leave it in the comments.
Yeah, I'll leave it in the comments. So
and I'll update the description to have it in there too.
Okay, awesome. Right. But thank you for having me, you guys. It was a pleasure.
You guys know me, I'm Mambo Soleil everywhere, all social media. If you want to book a reading with me, or if you want to purchase any custom crafted amulets or book a counseling session, You can go to Soleil, SOLE, conjureshop.com. I'm also accepting students for mentorship. The link for that is in the description box. I will be here on Sunday. I'll be here Sunday for the weekly forecast, and then I'll be back on Wednesday for another happy hour. Until then, everybody have a great night and take care.
Good night.